The other day, someone promised me one of the best graphics cards you can get for an insane price. It was a 1080 Ti for $450, which, if you don't know, still gets listed for around $750 online. Long story short, I reached out to this guy through Craigslist. He said he was going to sell me the card, and then when he finally shows up, he ends up trying to sell me a completely different card. Now, this is one of the few times I slipped up and didn't have a camera recording, because you guys already know I love to show a good scam, but that's not what this story is about today. So immediately after telling the guy to get lost, I start looking through all of the local online marketplaces because I already had the $450 in cash and I was looking to try and find something that I could flip. And that is when I came across this. This is an ad that was on the Facebook Marketplace for a computer, a monitor, a keyboard, and a mouse. The asking price was $450, which I thought was amazing because I could tell that some of the items there were worth a lot of money. On top of that, the description said, "One owner, belonged to my adult son." Immediately in my mind, I was like, okay, dad got really pissed off at his grown-ass son who is still living with him to the point where he is now selling all of his son's stuff. It looks like dad doesn't know what this stuff's worth, so let's just go ahead and pay him his full asking price. I know that might sound greedy on my end, but keep listening. I reached out to the guy asking if I could buy it, and he responded by telling me that over 20 people had reached out to him in the last half hour trying to buy the computer, and one was going to be there in 2 hours to buy it for $400. I asked him, if I come right now and pay you your full asking price, would you sell it to me? He agreed, and this is what happened. Hi, I'm Chris. I'm the one that came by to check out the computer.
Chris.
Awesome. Nice to meet you.
You too. You know, I can't believe the response I've had. I just put it on last night. I think I've had now over like 22 people or something.
And it blew up, yeah.
I can't believe.
I mean, there is a gaming craze going on lately, so that's probably why that is.
I don't know a lot about it. I don't know if I told you. It belonged to my adult son. And he passed away last year. He was 33.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Had some issues and stuff, But anyway, this has nothing to do with him passed away. It's just my explanation why I really don't know much about it. So,
would it be all right to like flip it on and see? Okay,
the only thing I'll say I did do back about 6 months ago when I took some of the original pictures that I posted, I tried to erase files that were his like personal ones because he was, I think, on a lot of these gaming sites. I think I said he's 33. And so I didn't want to leave financial stuff in there, but I also didn't want to just wipe clean everything because there was lots of movies and stuff on there.
I see.
So I hope I didn't wipe out some things that maybe needed. But go ahead, you fire it up. You know more about it. I think the way I did is I pushed that button there.
Let's see. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can do this because I know quite a bit about. Is it okay if I sit?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know quite a bit about computers, so I mean, I can do this.
I figured.
My original intention was to just wipe it clean and just do a fresh install of Windows.
Yeah.
If you want, what I can do is, obviously I don't want to pry or anything like that, but if you want me to look through it and if I see something that
I would just say just erase it. No, you don't have to send anything to me.
Are you sure? Because if there's anything important, I would, obviously.
Okay. Here, what you're doing. Here's the other thing. This whole box of stuff I think is related to it. All paperwork.
Oh, drivers
and
and
I think
whatnot.
this was there's some original stuff because I think he was really good in computers and stuff. And I think he kind of added to it.
Oh wow, it's even got an indicator of the temperatures. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he did some stuff that not everybody does. I mean,
no, I can tell because one of the first indicators is he was smart enough to know that you don't actually have to pay for Windows.
Oh, okay.
So that's one thing that I could tell he knew his way around computers for sure.
And the only thing game-wise I put in here because it means nothing to me is this, but I don't see a disc
Mass Effect.
So
okay.
you can throw it away. If I find something else that goes with it, I'll let you know if you
want.
Okay.
3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4. Okay. This should be $450, but obviously you count too. I don't want to shortchange you.
Appreciate it. My wife gets it anyway.
Oh my god, this is literally the heaviest computer I've ever had in my entire life. Yeah, you can just lay the box right here on top. That would be fine. Okay. And I'm going to set this actually in the front seat. I
appreciate it again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Have a good rest of the day.
Bye-bye.
All right, so we have the system. We got the monitor,
the computer with all its accessories back there, and you know, I was kind of sad. I mean, I did not expect to be buying someone's computer who had passed away. I thought I was getting it from a dad who was like trying to punish his son, but you know, it turns out he's just getting rid of his stuff. So I think what we'll do to be as respectful as possible is I offered to look through, you know, the hard drives and send anything over to the father. So, you know, we'll try and do that. And if we find anything of importance, we'll send it over to his dad. So now that we got the system, let's head on back home.
So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set up this computer, and I'm going to do a very extensive search through all of the drives because I wasn't able to do as good of a job at the house because I didn't really have that much time. See if I can find anything. And if I can't, then I will go ahead and install Windows 10 and load our usual benchmarks. But we will add something a little bit different this time around. One of the items in this box is Mass Effect 3. I'm assuming that this was this guy's favorite game. I'm hoping it was, because that's what we're gonna be using for one of the benchmarks this time around. I've never played Mass Effect, but you know, I think that if someone got a hold of my computer, I would hope they took the time to play, you know, some games of League of Legends, because that's my favorite game, and it would mean a lot to me. So I've spent the last 4.5 hours looking through all 6 drives in this computer, and I found some stuff that the parents might want, so I reached out to them through Facebook, and if they want it, I'll send it over, and if they don't, then I'm just gonna delete it out of respect. Aside from that, I finally had a chance to check what components are inside this system, and I'll tell you right off the bat, I am definitely impressed. Keep in mind, this computer was built around 5 years ago, and even today, this tower is still very relevant for any task like video editing, rendering, gaming, you name it. So I was actually able to check the components inside the system with a nice little program called CPU-Z. For any of you that are building a computer or purchase one secondhand and you really want to see all the parts inside your computer other than the case, the power supply, as well as the drives, you can download this for free and it will tell you every single part that you want to know. Starting with the processor, this computer has an i7-4770K, which is a processor that was released late in 2013 and has 4 cores and 8 threads and is overclockable. For my very first serious computer, I actually had the i7-4770, which is the non-overclockable version of this processor, and even that was powerful enough to get me through some serious editing as well as some gaming. So the fact that this is overclockable means it's going to be even more powerful than that one. As for the motherboard, this thing is running off of a Maximus 6 Extreme. Now, for those of you computer builders out there, you know what a Maximus motherboard is, but for those of you that aren't, a Maximus motherboard is a very high-end, enthusiast-level PC motherboard. If you ever buy a Maximus motherboard made by Asus for your computer, you know that you are going to be spending up to $200, $300, $400 for this high-end motherboard, and the reason they cost so much is because 1, they look really cool, and number 2, they come with a lot of extra features that a lot of normal motherboards don't have. As for the memory, this computer is running off of 8 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM, which is actually clocked at 2133 megahertz. Now for DDR3 memory, that is some of the fastest RAM you can get. Unfortunately, it is only 8 gigabytes, so I wonder how that will affect our gaming performance on modern day titles. And then the graphics card is an EVGA GTX 770, which is definitely a bit of an older card, and out of everything in this system, that would be the thing to hold it back the most, at least in terms of its gaming performance. It's not a weak card by any means, and it'll definitely be able to play any game at least at low settings at 1080p, but the fact that it has 2 gigabytes of GDDR5 memory might limit it when it comes to some very demanding games. And lastly, the most unique and interesting part of this computer, like I touched on before, are the 6 drives. Now the boot drive is a 120 gigabyte SSD, which definitely costs a lot more money back then than it does today in 2018, where you can find them for like $20 to $30. The other 5 drives are hard disk drives, which vary in sizes. Without mentioning any of the personal information, a lot of the stuff I saw on there was music, movies, and games. And it's interesting. After I got to look through all of the stuff that he had and see how much of his interests overlapped with a lot of the stuff that I was into growing up and am still into now, I feel like I kind of got to meet him in a way, and it definitely made me, you know, come back kind of to the more sad feeling that I was having earlier in the making of this video, because this seems like a guy that I definitely would have got along with, and you know, at the very least, we have a lot of similar interests, and it's just, I don't know. It's a shame that I couldn't buy this computer from him, because, I mean, you know, there's not too much you can tell just from a person's interests, but from what I can see, he was a pretty cool dude, and you know, since we did have the same interests, I have to say that he is a cool dude. I mean, this guy had all of the shooter games that I grew up watching my older friends play because, one, I was too scared to play them, and two, my parents wouldn't buy them for me. So it was definitely a massive throwback going through all this stuff. Now, concerning the actual price of this tower, a lot of this stuff isn't actually available anymore for a regular sale, so it's kind of hard to give it an estimate based off of internet searches, but based off of the performance that it can output, if I were to give it an honest, fair valuation used, the tower itself is worth around $400. So if we were to add that up with the rest of this setup, right now, if I were to try and sell everything, I believe that I would get around $700 for all of it. So as you can see, this was a pretty good purchase, but anyways, enough of all that. It's time to check the benchmarks and see how this thing holds up on our tests. So as you guys can see from the setup, this system is actually still very powerful. So this time around, I'd actually like to hear a little bit more from you guys. I'm curious to hear your opinion on the overall story of this computer and the actual build quality, because in my opinion, I'm actually pretty impressed. So if you've made it this far in the video, I'd like to say thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.